Welcome, everyone. My name is Kimberley, and I hope you came hungry because you're on Ambitious Appetite. Ambitious Appetite is my podcast where I share my life stories and talk about real, raw topics that hopefully make you feel less alone in the world. Grab a plate to eat from because, oh, do I have some juicy stories to share. I'm still trying and testing things out, but I really do appreciate you taking the time to listen and watch today. So if you can, like, comment, subscribe, rate us 5 stars on Spotify for more content, that would be awesome. So thanks so much for tuning in to episode 3.
Why I stopped going to church.
Quick disclaimer, this is just like one of the reasons why, but I have been wanting to share this story because I have not shared this story with anyone yet. This is not intended to sway anyone from not going to church. If you want to go to church, like live your life, this is just me sharing my personal story. So let's start off with how I was involved with my church. I was pretty heavily involved. I was an altar server. I held the blood of Christ. I read Bible verses during Mass. I was pretty much anything and everything you can do to be involved in the church besides being the priest. Right. So I was heavily involved. Let's just say that. And one of my favorite things about going to church at the time as a young kid was Vacation Bible School. So Vacation Bible School was basically a summer camp where you'd go every single day, learn a topic about, some part of the Bible. It's usually themed and they have like characters and stuff like that. And it's like filled with fun games and food. And I just really loved it. And it was so much fun. But one summer, something happened and it just changed my outlook on how I viewed the church and how I viewed the people in the community. Basically, what happened was, if I kind of go back a little bit, I basically joined this church because I grew up with this church. I was baptized in this church. I went to school at this church for a little bit, for like a couple years. So I knew of people there, and I don't know why. I think I've probably blocked a lot of memories. I know I've like literally blocked a lot of memories in my adolescence and my young child life, but I just remember this one instance where I just really struggled to make friends at this Bible camp. And one year, I just had become friends with a group of guys who were boyfriends of the group of girls at this church. And this group of girls, I just didn't fit in. I tried to become friends with them, was not really accepted into the group of girls. And I remember at the time we used something called AIM, which is like a virtual messaging app on your computer. They would have like AIM chats all the time, and I was never part of that. I remember being part of one, but then everyone decided not to talk in it anymore. So I really tried to be friends with this group of girls. I don't know what. I think it's just because I was like a weird kid. I just was socially awkward. I just didn't know how to make friends. But what I loved doing was playing video games, and so it was so easy for me to talk to the guys, and we exchanged numbers just so that way we could hit each other up when we were playing video games. And me thinking at the time, that's so innocent, nothing's gonna happen. But ultimately what ended up happening, I guess it became a problem for the girls. And so let me give some context. I don't know if smartphones came out at the time, but I did not have a smartphone. I had a small Beetle phone, a Beetle phone that had a small screen, and it literally just had like the texting function. So like the only thing you could do with this phone is text and call. Like that's the only thing you can do. Put up a picture here, what I could find as the closest to this Beetle phone. With this phone, you have like a cap to how many text messages you have, or else you have to delete your text messages in order to receive text messages. So that's just some context. But anyways, it all started when there was this guy, let's call him Roger. he offered to pick me up and drop me off for Bible camp because at the time I didn't have a car. I didn't have access to my car. My parents were not able to pick and drop me off sometimes. So he was really nice enough to be able to pick me up and drop me off since we were going the same direction. Roger had a girlfriend. Let's call this girlfriend Regina. So Raja and Regina were a few years older than me, and because she was older than me, she was kind of like the leader of like the group of girls that I was talking about before. And Regina was not happy that Roger was giving me a lift. Let's just say that. Roger had described her as was very jealous and was not okay with the fact that he was picking me, dropping me off. Like Roger and I were just like friends. Like he was literally just picking and dropping me off. We did not hang out outside of that. It was literally a pick and drop off situation. There was nothing else going on. And I basically asked Roger, like, look, I can just walk to church. It seems like Regina's not happy with it. And like, I just don't want to cause drama. But I think Roger felt bad for me because walking to the church from my house at the time was literally an hour and a half walk. So it was a really long walk. And I did it a few times anyway, so I know it could be done. But, you know, Roger felt bad and it was like on his way anyways, so it was not a problem. So, you know, he still continued to give me a lift, which is really nice. But one night we were closing out Vacation Bible School. We were singing songs, and all of a sudden, one of the girls from Regina's girl group comes up to me and is like, "Can I talk to you for a second?" And takes me into the kitchen. So she takes me into the kitchen, and I'm surrounded by Regina and five other girls. So I'm like, what is happening here? Like I don't know what's going on. And so this girl who pulled me aside, let's call her Sarah, she starts to say, "I found out that you were texting my boyfriend. What the are you doing?" And I'm kind of like I'm like, "What?" Yeah, we're texting, but we're literally not texting about anything other than video games. Like I'm very confused. And she just takes a look at me and she's like, "Why are you trying to steal my boyfriend? Why are you trying to flirt with my boyfriend?" And I'm like, "What is happening?" Like and I was very insecure at the time. And so I just like blatantly said, "Girl, I am trying to find a boyfriend, but I'm not trying to find your boyfriend. I have a crush on someone else who is like nowhere associated with this church. Like, look, I am not trying to like get at your boyfriend." So she starts like yelling at me, and I as someone who, I don't know, I guess I just started tearing up, and it was like clear that I was going to cry because I just felt like, wow, I'm being surrounded by these group of girls who are accusing me of being a homewrecker. And how is no one hearing this conversation and like trying to come in and like stop the conversation or like help me through this? So I literally told Sarah, like, take my phone. Take my freaking phone, go through our text messages. I have nothing to hide. Like, go through it. But I'm like doing this crying because I'm like, in that moment, I felt so alone. I felt like I had no one to defend me. And with these girls surrounding me in this kitchen, I was like, what I thought was a safe space for me felt no longer safe. While Sarah's looking through my text messages, Regina starts talking to me and is like, "Why are you always in Roger's car?" And I'm like, "Yo, man, I am just trying to get a free ride because I can't get a free ride from my parents. So they're not available. They're doing stuff or they have other plans. Like, I just don't want to walk an hour and a half to church. So that's why." And she starts to then say, "Look, I feel like you're trying to steal all of our boyfriends here. And like, it's not okay." And at this point, I'm just kind of like, what? I just start crying. Like, I As I'm saying this, it might sound like it's such a little deal, but when you're like starting high school and all of a sudden you have like a group of girls that you just don't fit in with, that are now like accusing you of being a homewrecker and like someone trying to steal their boyfriends, I felt embarrassed. I felt like, I didn't belong there anymore. I just wanted to run away. I just wanted to just leave. And instead, what ended up happening was I just kept this to myself. I didn't tell anyone about what happened. And this conversation didn't conclude. What happened was we got interrupted by the head of this vacation Bible school, who like peeks in the kitchen and is like, "What are you all doing here? You need to be out with the kids singing the songs." So I'm like, thank God, like I don't want to be here. But he clearly saw that I was crying. This guy, who I thought I could trust and I thought he would like be able to kind of help mitigate things or clarify things or check in on me, like, nope, did not talk to me at all. And while I was singing these like songs about Jesus, I was just crying because I was like, wow, I literally, at the time, I was feeling like I have never felt so alone in a space that's crowded with people who I thought were my family or my church family, right? As I'm sharing this story, this doesn't necessarily sound like it's a big deal to anyone, but what I hope that anyone listening gets from this story is to just be kind to one another. For me, it was a traumatic experience. I never went back to vacation Bible school after that. I didn't want to show my face to this church. I decided to go to a different church because of the amount of feeling I got from these people essentially telling me I did not belong here. So I really did not want to ever step foot in that church ever again. And I didn't. That literally is what stopped me from going to that specific church. What I feel now as an adult, I wish I had spoken up. I wish that was a conversation with the head of the person. And now, today, those people I don't even see. I know Sarah tried to, be nice and reach out, but it just left such a sour taste in my mouth that I was just kind of like, I can't interact with someone who made me feel so small and made me feel disrespected and was accusing me of something that I was not doing. I hope that no one ever has to feel that same feeling that I felt, whether it's at a church, whether it's at a community, whether it's at a club, whatever it might be. My hope from today's story is you just never know what someone's going through. And I think if you can have like a very nice conversation with someone about your feelings, that's like a much better way to approach a situation. I think being kind to one another is something I try to do as much as I can. Of course, I'm not a perfect person, but you know, I really hope that anyone that is part of a specific group or anything like that can share some love, because I feel like in that moment, that experience made me feel so unloved. And if you are going through something like maybe it's bullying or something like that, I do encourage you to speak up. Or if you see someone get bullied, speak up. Or if you see like a situation where you can intervene, not, like in this situation, it was within a church. So like if you overhear a conversation, like if you can, I wish someone had like talked to me. I wish someone had been able to ask me what I was feeling, what just happened, and kind of like figure out a way where I could feel safe again. But that never happened. So, yeah, I don't think I'll ever be returning to that church. And to this day, I don't really go to church. I know other people have had really great experiences at churches, and I love that they do. I think church can be a really great way to feel like a sense of community and to share beliefs with one another and stuff like that. So, again, like this is just me sharing my story about why I stopped going to church. And this is one of the reasons why I just was put into a position where I felt like no one was helping me. And I felt a lot of disrespect from people, and I felt humiliated, and I felt like I just didn't belong. So I hope you all don't ever feel that way. I hope sharing this story kind of maybe relates to you in one way or another. Hopefully not, but ideally we all survived and got through this together. And if you are someone who is maybe in the younger side of the audience is listening, and maybe you feel like you're not fitting in and stuff like that, well, let me tell you, I think when you don't fit in, that means that there's something very unique about you. And I think that's really awesome. Thank you all so, so much for watching. And I'm super excited to continue doing this podcast. I'll be sharing some more life stories and interesting topics. So, see you all in the next episode on Ambitious Appetite. Bye.